Who said, okay, hey, is that Andrea? Hey, Andrea, how you doing? How's the pest business coming?
Very good.
Okay, great. Everybody's doing great. Okay, that's a nice thing to hear about.
All right, Antoinette, are you ready to get started?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, great. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. So we are gathering to have a discussion on driving revenue in 2021. We're going to discuss sales strategy and tactics. So we've got two of our WEOP experts here to support us in this collaborative conversation. Before we start with our event and we do intros, just wanted to thank everyone for taking the time to be here, for your support of WEOP, and also wanted to bring some welcoming words from our WEOP co-founder, Antoinette Ball. So Antoinette, if you will.
Yes, I want to first of all say thank you all for being here. And this is an exciting day with the election of Kamala Harris, the first African-American Asian woman of descent who is going to be the Vice President of the United States. It is so historic and we are so excited. I started to cancel the workshop. However, we had so many registrations. This day is just a reminder that the show must go on. So as we move forward, as we are stepping into 2021 with the hope for the future, and we're all looking for positive outlooks for our businesses. I want to first of all welcome all of our WEOP members. If you're not a member, remember WEOP is a membership organization and we encourage you to join. We are going to have monthly newsletters and we'll also post all of our information on weopwomen.com. So we're looking forward to 2021. And first of all, I want to thank all the dynamic women for volunteering their time to share their expertise, to share their wisdom and their experiences. We look forward to 2021. We have a lot of great upcoming events. First of all, our signature events, which is our contracting class, is going to be online because of the pandemic. So we're going to start that in about the second week in February. We'll make all of our announcements in the newsletter. And we're gearing up for our annual event, which because of the pandemic, it is going to be virtual. So we're going to have our virtual business event on March 24th. We want you all to save the date. WEOP is also going to receive a proclamation for that event. So we're excited about that. We're going to continue on with our monthly roundtable sessions and our business meetings as well. So we want to make sure that you guys stay connected to WEOP. We look forward to 2021. And as an organization, we want to maintain our commitment to our circle of women, especially our members of the organization. So please stay connected and stay tuned to what we're doing. Because WEOP is about a circle of women who are connected and who are sharing information and of course, supporting each other in their businesses. Our model this year is that we support each other. So make sure that you support another woman in business, buy a product, just serve as a mentor or anything you can do to advance the economic advancement of women. I want to share a few opportunities. I don't know if you guys know that Johnson & Johnson, and you probably all heard of Johnson & Johnson, they make the baby powder and so forth, but they have a Black Innovators kind of grant competition. And they're looking for Black innovators with skin healthcare products. And the deadline is January 22nd, 2021. So if you know anybody who has a hair care product or a skin care product, please, this is a $50,000 grant. So you can go online, do an application, and apply for that particular grant. Also, I don't know if you guys know about a new program by Comcast. It's called Rise, and they're supporting entrepreneurs with marketing, creative media, and technology awards. So they're taking applications for any Black companies until February the 7th. So if you're interested in Comcast, please, I encourage you to do that. Also, Forbes magazine is doing a over 50 female entrepreneur contest. And the deadline for that is February 28th, 2021. So these are three great opportunities that if you're not aware of, you may want to click on, or if you're not interested, pass it on to somebody else who may be interested. So those are three things I want to share with you. I want to say welcome to 2021. Welcome all of our members. Make sure you stay connected to WEOP by visiting weopwomen.com. And also look out for our monthly newsletters. I'm excited. Today is a historic day. We are just excited about what is going to happen in 2021. I know we're all in a pandemic and things are a little bit uncertain, but the show must go on. And I want to make sure that you guys are all safe. And I just look forward to staying connected and I'm pleased to be a part of WEOP. So thank you for being here today as well. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Andrea, did you have a question?
Yes, so the information that you just shared, where can we find additional information on that?
Okay, Ashley, I think I shared links with Ashley that she can share with you guys in the chat room. We do have a link for the Black Innovators Award, and there's a link for the, I think, Comcast Rise. And the 50/50, you can Google the Forbes magazine 50/50, and those links will come up. That link was so long, I didn't put it in there. But you will find the other 2 links in our chat box as well.
Is that Forbes magazine 50/50?
Yeah, Forbes magazine 50/50 female entrepreneurs. And when you Google that, the information will come up. But there should be in the chat room links for the other two grant awards.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, she
It's
certainly can.
Tanya. I did not miss this presentation. It started at 12, right?
Yes. Hey, Tanya. Yes, it started at 12.
Oh, okay, because I thought you were getting ready to close. I said, wait a minute, I know my
Oh,
I know my days. Okay, I'm here. Okay.
so thank you, Tanya. No, Richard, we're only just beginning. So thank you.
Okay, good.
I was just giving my little WEOP spiel, basically.
Okay.
And look in the chat room for the links for that
I
information.
got
And anything else, we're going to be posting on weopwomen.com to kind of keep you guys connected to what's going on, basically. So I'm going to turn the chat on to our great speakers. We have it's 12:15, and we want to get started because we have a lot of great information as we push our businesses forward in 2021. And thank you all for being here.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you so much, Antoinette, for those updates. Excited for the year ahead, definitely. So thank you again to our amazing speakers that are joining us. We have Josie Marshworn. She has over 25 years of experience creating strategies and implementing programs for customers, partners, and employees in the tech industry. Her background includes senior leadership roles and sales roles with Fortune 500 companies. She's a thought leader and a recognized contributor to the Sales Enablement Soiree, and has also contributed to multiple podcasts, including Coffee Collaboration and Inside Sales Enablement, among many others. So we're in great company to have her here today. So Josie, if you wanted to go ahead and give us a welcome, and I will introduce Mia Martin in just a moment. She is a trailblazer in corporate sales and marketing for Fortune 500 companies, and for over 14 years prior to starting Modern Creative in 2013. So she's been very instrumental in developing thousands of entrepreneurs throughout the country with 101 consulting, workshops, and courses. She has provided services to many different organizations that trust her: Coca-Cola, UGA at GSU, General Assembly, WEOP, SCORE, and many more. She's also an advisor to the Harvard Business Review and is a board member for several organizations. So we are really excited to hear from Josie and Mia, and they're going to be having kind of a collaborative presentation for us today. So Josie, I will let you take it away.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for the introduction. I really appreciate it. So let me go ahead and share my screen with you, and then we can go ahead and get started. As I do, just a real quick show of hands for anybody that's on video. How many people today define a sales strategy that's separate from your company strategy every single year? Does anybody do that today?
I do.
So I have one.
Do.
Two. So it seems like some people do and some people don't. So the whole topic today is really about why it's so important to set a sales strategy that's separate from your company strategy. If you're a small business and you have even one salesperson within the business, it's a super important thing to do. So we'll talk about that today. Mia, as we're going along, we'd love for you to jump in and add your thoughts along the way. And then we'll save time at the end for question and answer, unless you have specific questions along the way as we go. So with that being said, let me go ahead and get started. In the US, there is over $900 billion spent every single year on sales. 900 billion. So that's a huge amount of money. In fact, 3 times the marketing spend is spent on the sales effort. So it's super important that we get it right. It's super important that we know how to spend that money in the most effective way to generate the most amount of business. And part of doing the strategy is not just looking ahead and deciding where are we going to sell and how much are we going to sell, but it's also looking back at where we've been, what's worked, what hasn't worked, and what do we need to do to change and pivot for the year ahead. So that's what I'm going to talk to you guys about throughout this presentation today. Okay, so why do we need a sales strategy? If you think about it, when we're thinking about our sales team, without a strategy, they don't know what to do. They may decide to go and sell into pharmaceutical or the insurance industry or the retail industry or even to hospitality, and that may not be your target market. So their selling efforts are going to be wasted if they're not selling to the right organization in the right industry. Also, selling to the right person within the company saves them time and saves their money. So having a well-developed sales strategy that can provide meaningful growth is so important. Developing that strategy is one of the core activities that every single business should do every single year. So when we think about a well-developed strategy, that well-developed strategy will include the components from analysis of the previous year. I'll get into that. It'll include looking at what our target markets are, where we're good, where we're not good, how are we measuring the success of the organization as we go along. So before we can begin our plan, we've got to look at the past. And looking at the past is looking at all of the, how much did we sell? Where did we sell to? Who sold on the team? Who's successful and who's not? In fact, if you look at your sales organization, there's an 80-20 rule that goes with sales. And that 80-20 rule says that 20% of your salespeople within your company are selling the majority of everything in the organization. And what that breaks down to is you have 80% of the sales organization that's not selling. On average, more than 50% of your sales reps won't make their number every year. They're either not making their number because their number is not the right number for them. We haven't trained them properly. They may not have the right skills to sell what you're selling. So all of those play a factor in. And if you think about that $900 billion spend that I told you in the beginning, that's huge to any company of any size, whether you have one rep or 100. So making sure that you have, that you're looking at all the past performance will help you in understanding how well you're doing. Some of the clear objectives and guidance for your business are not only looking at the growth goals that you set in place this year, what you achieved last year. In fact, a really good best practice is to look past the last 3 years. How well have we done over the last 3 years? How well has the team done over the last 3 years? Defining metrics that are measurable. So, there's metrics that we track in sales, such as how well are we doing filling our pipeline? How many leads are coming in? But it's not just the number of leads, it's the quality of those leads. And quality of those leads mean how many are actually converting to an opportunity. How long is it taking our sales reps to work through that entire sales process? If it's taking them so long to work through the sales process that it's costing you money, those may not be the right accounts to go after. So looking at where are we getting the most traction for our money? What size accounts? I often talk to entrepreneurs, and what I hear from them often is, I want to go after really big accounts because there's a lot of money in a really big account. That's true. There's a lot of money in it. But the challenge with a really big account is it costs a lot of time. It costs a lot of effort to win that business. And if you don't have the infrastructure in place to support that customer, it can cost you dearly on the back end. So making sure you know where your business is at, where your trajectory should be today versus going forward, super important KPIs for you to be tracking. A buyer persona is, who am I selling to? So there's a lot of different roles and responsibilities within a company. Not everybody's going to use what you're selling. You may be fortunate. You may be fortunate in that you're selling something, a good or a product or a service that everybody in the company needs. But not everybody has decision-making authority. Not everybody has budget. Knowing those things allows you to define for your sales reps, who do I target? That's what we mean by a buyer persona. When we put structure in place for our sales reps, we want to put in place a sales process that aligns to the customer's buying journey. We want to align a methodology. A methodology is how are we communicating? Ensure it's consistent across the entire sales organization. When somebody says that a deal is at a certain percentage, we all agree that what that percentage means. That's what we mean by a process and a methodology. And then it's always looking at those metrics along the way. Okay, so let's talk about the steps to building a sales strategy. So first of all, identifying sales goals. You cannot just plunk a number in place, and I often see companies do this. Oftentimes what happens is they'll look at the revenue goal from last year, they'll add 10 or 20% to it, and that's the target for this year. And that may be a really good metric. It may be a great metric because that's what your performance has been in years past. But what happens if your market has changed? What happens if you have more competition in your market space? Or heaven forbid, we have a pandemic. Everybody's business got turned upside down in the pandemic when it started because we didn't know what to do. We didn't know how long it would last. We didn't know how it would affect us. I think most people have gotten back on track. Some unfortunately have not, but that's a really great example of something way out of our control. Identifying opportunities for improvement should be something that we're doing throughout the year. It shouldn't just be done at the beginning of the fiscal year. It shouldn't just be done at the end of the fiscal year, but it should be done all the time to make sure that we're always improving our performance along the way. And there's a lot of different things that you can do. I know Mia's going to talk about tools when she speaks, but tools are a great way for offering a level of improvement within a sales organization. And then most importantly, developing an action plan, not only that is well communicated to the sales organization, but it's one that they can actually follow. Okay. So the starting point for any good sales organization and for any good sales strategy is looking at past results. Past results are measuring the outcomes of what we've had success in and failure in the year past. Not every customer is a good customer. Some customers actually drain us. Some customers cost us so much on the back end, they were never worth getting. Knowing not only what it costs you to acquire a customer, but it's what it's costing you to keep that customer is so important. So that would be a measurable outcome that I would look at for the previous year. I would also look at overall performance of the sales team, overall performance of the marketing efforts, overall performance of the individuals on the team. All of those are great measurable outcomes to look at a past performance. And it will allow you to set your priorities for the current year and the years in the future. Setting your guidelines and goals will also help you based on those past performances. Okay, let's talk a minute about an ideal customer. As I mentioned to you previously, not all customers are good customers and target customers, but knowing who is the right customer within your prospective accounts is how you will get to that person faster, how you will sell the most value to them along your customer's buying journey, and how you'll close your deals faster. So who do we sell to? Is it a VP level? Is it a director level? Is it an individual business owner? Is it the shop around the corner? Is it a larger company that we're going after? All of those things are super important. And who do we sell to? So knowing what the challenges are and the opportunities for that individual, knowing what they struggle with day to day and how your solution can actually solve those problems for them. That's what we mean by creating a buyer persona and identifying your ideal customer profile. Does your customer sell to other customers? Do they sell to other businesses or are they selling to consumers? How they sell is an important part in how you sell to them. Do they sell through a storefront or are they selling in a business to business model? And are you selling in a storefront or are you selling in a business to business model? Those are two very different selling efforts, something that needs to be identified when you're defining your ideal customer profile. Are your sales coming from your repeat customers? are from new customers. On average, about 20% of our customers, as I mentioned to you before, are the ones generating 80% of the revenue. That means there is a great deal of business to be had with repeat customers. You know, I often ask people that I'm talking to, what did you do with all of the leads that came in to your company throughout the year? And I often hear things like, well, I have a database, and I think a database is a really great idea, but what are you doing to touch them? Because people that reach out today don't necessarily, they're not necessarily ready to buy today. They may be ready to buy in 3 months, 6 months, maybe even a year from today. So what are you doing to cultivate that lead? What are you doing to stay in touch with them until they're ready to talk to you? That's a great source for leads, but the other best source for leads is your current customers. They know your product, they know your solution, they know your company, they know you, or they should know you as a leader of the company. And so what are you doing to maintain those relationships? What are you doing to sell them more of what you sell, to get them to actually generate leads for you by giving you referrals of other people that they know? So that's all part of defining your ideal customer. It's not only looking at the profile, but it's looking at what is a strategy in which we can use those customers to help us generate new business in the future. Okay. A clear market strategy is, how much can I grow from my existing accounts? How much can I leverage of my existing accounts to get relationships with other accounts? How much can you increase revenue inside those existing accounts and territories? Or do you have to go after new business? You may be a startup and you just don't have enough companies that you've sold to or consumers that you've sold to. So you're generating all of yours from scratch, which means your marketing efforts will be very different than somebody whose marketing efforts are going after new customers. There's something that we do in technology, which is we reach out to our customers on a very regular basis. And we reach out to them with kind of a state of how you're doing. We call it a quarterly business review. And what's really nice about doing a quarterly business review with our customers is not only it tells our customers that we care about them, but we help them understand how they're getting value from what we're selling, what they've already invested in of our solutions. If we have customers that are not getting value because we show a low usage, then we'll talk to them about that, and we'll put a strategy in place to help them with that. We'll put a strategy in place to help them get more leverage out of the product. Maybe there's areas of the product that they're not using today. So that's just one of the things that we do in the tech industry to make sure that we're always growing that customer base. We're also very fortunate that we have more than one product typically to sell to a customer. And so we call that a cross-sell opportunity. And a cross-sell opportunity means I should be touching that customer all the time and saying, hey, do you have interest in this product or that product? Maybe you're a small business owner, maybe you're a restaurant, and all of a sudden you started selling some products from a vendor that's coming in to sell to you. That's a cross-sell opportunity. That's the same thing. So how can I now train my staff to go out and sell those additional things to increase each individual ticket item? So revenue goals are really a combination of looking at past performance, looking at the capabilities of the team, deciding what the team is capable of producing this year compared to last year. If you've done an analysis of your sales organization and you have 50% of your sales organization that hasn't even hit their number, even if it's 2 people within your sales organization and they haven't hit their number, raising their quota isn't going to produce more revenue. It's just raising their quota. So you got to do the analysis to understand what's a realistic revenue goal and what's not a realistic revenue goal, and then put those in place. One of the best practices that you can use in this is lower the revenue goal if they're not producing. And then as they start to produce, start slowly, incrementally increasing it instead of going that big 10 to 20% leap. And always be pivoting. I think this is so important always in a good market, in a challenging market like we're in. And what I mean by that is this. Most sales leaders, especially younger sales leaders, want to change their strategy all the time. It's not working, so let's just do this different. Let's just do that different. If you don't give your garden time to grow, then you won't produce any vegetables or fruit out of your garden. This is the same way. You got to give it enough time to cultivate and grow before making changes. And certainly when we have big things that happen, like the election that affects the economy, the pandemic affects the economy, that's going to change your selling strategy. So pivoting sometimes is not a bad thing, but pivoting shouldn't be the thing we're doing every month because it's causing confusion within the sales organization. Have a well-defined message, have a well-defined plan, execute toward that plan, always be looking at and analyzing the results of the plan and make modifications on a regular basis. And one of the best practices is look at this on a quarterly basis. If it's working every single quarter, stick with it. If it's not working or certain aspects are not working, maybe change just those aspects and keep the rest of the plan consistent. And then definitely at the end of the year, do a deeper dive into the analysis, just like we did for this year in setting this plan. So I am going to turn it over to Mia. I appreciate you guys taking time to chat with me today and allowing me to go through this presentation. Before I do, are there any questions that any of you have? Okay.
I have a question, Josie.
Hi, Mia.
When you talk about the setting of sales goals, I think that for some people on the line, they may be solopreneurs. Other people on the line may have 1 to 5 staff members. And then there are some that have scaled and have a lot of staff members. But for someone who is a solopreneur, for example, as they're establishing those benchmarks for success, how would that differentiate from establishing benchmarks for those that have team members?
Oh, Mia, that's such a great question. I work with a lot of clients today that are solopreneurs. It's so funny. Entrepreneurs will not realize in the creation of their company that there is somebody that's going to actually have to go out and sell. And long before they can actually afford to hire a sales rep, they've got to do it themselves, right? So when you're starting out, you don't know what the goals are going to be. You can't put a plan in place. You're simply trying to go out and get the first customer. And then once I get the first customer, I'm simply trying to go and get the second customer. I've talked with some entrepreneurs that do set very small goals when they're first starting out. In fact, I have a client of mine and his goal was $35,000. And he was really pleased that he achieved $35,000 for the year. And now his goal is to increase that by 10% next year. Now, if he put the infrastructure in place, he should be able to achieve that goal for next year. But some of those metrics that I talked about, even with a solopreneur, applies. It's just in the very beginning, you don't have anything to measure. So it's going to be the next year, the next quarters, the next year when you can start looking at those numbers and start making a realistic plan based on past performance. Everything with a sales strategy is based on past performance. So until you have that performance, it's very hard for you to put that plan in place.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And for those that are making their transition from, let's say, full-time employment to entrepreneurship, which is happening quite a bit now, especially with the conditions due to COVID, they had a salary or a certain income that they were maintaining beforehand. And in setting those sales goals, they're going to have to set goals to bring in the type of revenue to support the lifestyle that they had prior. So understanding the worth or value that each customer would bring in, or average value that they would need to have for the customer. And maybe it's not an hours piece, maybe it's a project dollar amount piece that they're going after if they're pursuing RFPs or project work from a consulting perspective as it relates to corporate or just nonprofit or local organizations, but really just diving in a little bit deeper around the importance of setting financial goals for yourself too as an entrepreneur, because those sales are important, but you have to know what that target dollar amount is as well. Wouldn't you say?
It's super important. I don't think you can start off as an entrepreneur expecting to have the same lifestyle that you did prior to being an entrepreneur, because it takes time to build it up, right? I think any of us know from starting a business, it just takes time, unless you're very fortunate to walk out of a corporate position into consulting around what you did in the past, and there's just a guaranteed revenue path. I don't think that happens to many people, but it does happen to some, and they're very fortunate in that they're able to do that. But if you're one of the many that start out on your own, you've got to decide what is it that you want to give up in order to gain this new lifestyle. There's so much freedom that comes from being an entrepreneur. What's the value of that? Mia, you mentioned actual customer value or ACV. That's something that we track all the time. You know, when you're starting out, somebody may ask you to do a project. You don't know how to price the project, so you make a guess. At the end of the project, what you've realized is, I put double the time into the project that I thought I was going to put into it. So therefore, I didn't make what I thought I was going to make. In fact, maybe I even lost money on that first project. It's okay. That's how you learn. And then you also have to learn, how much is somebody willing to pay for what my specialty is. There is a market cap for everybody's skills. And so what is the market cap for that? There's a lot of really good sites that help, especially if you're going into consulting, help you understand what is the going rate for some of the skills that you might want to do. Upwork is a great site for that, by the way, or any of the gig sites where you can go out and see what people are actually getting paid to do the work you're interested in doing. So that's one of the things you can do, but always looking back at that historical trend will tell you, one, should I take on that work in the future? Two, if this is the price for the work, am I willing to do it as a loss to get something else? Sometimes you may be willing to.
Thank you so much for sharing, Josie. Do
I
we
have
have
a question.
any other questions?
Yeah, I have a quick question. Josie, you talked a little bit about the pivot strategy. And as you think about how you pivot, because some people are thinking they have to think about a pivot strategy like every month, should you be really defined? So you talked about not really confusing your consumer, because that's very important. Because some people are thinking, okay, this doesn't work, maybe I could do this. Can you talk a little bit about having a pivot that's really focused so you're not confusing your customer and you're not doing too many things, but trying to be the jack of all trades as well?
I'd be happy to. I think in the beginning, we want to be the jack of all trades, right? Because we don't know where our products sell. But I think that, let me give you a great example. In the tech industry, all products don't work in all industries. Not all industries buy the same way. For instance, financial services are early adopters, which means they adopt technology much, much faster than somebody in insurance or healthcare. They're very conservative. Think about the nature of the work that they do. They're very, very conservative. So if I'm trying to start a business as an entrepreneur and I'm trying to sell into insurance companies, it's going to be a long, slow sell. If I try to sell into a company that is an early adopter and I know they're early adopters, it's a little faster sell. It doesn't mean my product's necessarily going to sell, but it typically is a little faster sell. So knowing your customer, knowing the industries you're trying to target and why you're trying to target those industries will help you in defining not only your ideal customer, but what your target market is. Now, pivoting should only happen on an incremental basis, meaning that if I'm pivoting every single month, it means I really don't understand what it is I'm doing. I'm changing too fast. I haven't given it enough time to figure out if it's working. If I'm assessing that on a quarterly basis, now I've had a whole 3 months of trying something. If I make a slight change, what would the next 3 months be? Maybe another slight change. What does the next 3 months be? And then I get down to the end of the year, and the end of the year now, I have a whole year worth of results. I've made these slight changes. Did the slight changes give us the results we wanted or not? Yes or no? If they didn't, was that the thing to change? So no, I would never recommend that somebody do this on a frequency of a monthly basis. I think even doing it on a frequency of a quarterly basis is a little fast. But when you're young and you're a new company just starting out and you're just trying to get revenue in the door, changing things quarterly may be the right time to do it.
Okay, good point. Thank you.
Hey, there was one thing. Hello, you guys. It's Yolanda. It was one thing I did want to add that I've found very successful with my sales strategy. On a monthly basis, as I'm doing like my full projection, I do sit down and itemize what tactical plans I think equate to what specific dollars. So whether it's in email marketing, whether it's in an event, whether it's in a virtual event, like I begin to detail out what revenue I think is associated with each event. So while historical sales is definitely a great benchmark, I don't do just the random, I want to make 10% more than I did the prior month, because if you don't have any of the tactical tools and plans in place in order to help you drive that 10% growth, it's really hard to achieve. So personally, like, but I do use the historical modeling around how specific emails have performed or how specific events have performed to help me have a benchmark on what I think I can achieve. But like listing out every month what activities I'm doing and what I think that equates to, it's been a really good barometer to help me see if I hit the mark or if I don't hit the mark on a monthly basis.
Are you also looking at what the cost of those efforts are?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm doing an ROI on all this stuff, but it's like an email really doesn't cost me anything.
Right, right.
You know what I mean? Or having a special feature product doesn't cost me anything. It's just redirecting attention and efforts against one specific item in my product line. Or there are things that I do more cost benefit analysis around when I do like free product or when I do any promotional items associated with it. I'm not on camera, you guys, but you know, I think those things I definitely make sure that, and my pricing strategy, everybody does their sales strategy different. My pricing strategy does not lean into discounts. So I don't really like do a bunch of, oh, here's 25% off in order to drive like sales that way. I do other incentives, but yeah, I just find like, of course it's all making money, but I do like specific tactical plans to help give me confidence around the total number is really insightful for me. And it gives me a target to try to hit when I'm doing certain things.
Have you gone back and looked at your clients and measured the percentage of clients that
I repeat.
are successful and the ones for you that are not?
I have. I mean, I'm very customer client focused. So I know every person who's bought, even though it's like hundreds of people. And I'm very conscious about how much they are ordering, how often they're ordering, and if they're repeat, and what is bringing them back to. I have products though; it's clothing. So what's bringing them back to the collection? So yeah, I think that's really important. I think client management is just super important. So using the CRM tools, making sure that you're updating it, you know who's buying, who's engaging. Social media helps a lot with that for me though. I know who comments on everything. I know who says something is beautiful. If they say it's beautiful, they probably end up with a DM from me or a direct message, you know, like just to say thank you. Love that you're engaged in our brand. Would love for you to come participate in our events. And that's how I drive like personal one-on-one conversion. It's really about movement for me, not about sales. So I mean, it is about sales, but it's like I really do create these like real connections with my customers and clients. And even on this call, like I think Betty's on, like she's instrumental in helping me understand like how to incentivize, reward those customers that are a part of my business. So Yeah, I'm just adding to what you're saying, that I think it's really important to have that target in place, but it can become very crystallized for you when you begin to have tactical, like, events, or like, I don't know, like things that help you drive to that number.
Which is this is a good segue into me, if you could share some tools that entrepreneurs can utilize.
To measure sales or to measure client data. So from a sales perspective, your CRM would be able to house a lot of that for you, along with the client information. Your Google Analytics would be able to show you site performance and what uh, type of demographics are behind the particular clients that are, or particular customers that are coming to your website. Your social media analytics, if you use any scheduling tools, they're going to give you, such as Hootsuite, um, they will give you a breakdown of engagement and performance against your social media platforms. Um, so does that answer your question, Antoinette?
Yes, perfect.
Okay.
I mean, I would just add like tools. I think those are all great ones to like measure where your customers, who's buying, what's happening. I think you hit it, Mia, like CRM, we can never underestimate the opportunity to communicate directly to our customers, and the ability to segment that is great. The one thing that I recently used that I had no idea it would work so well was I went back to old school direct mail. And I just thought I was telling people like, thank you for supporting Deo, but it actually translated back into sales, and it was no discount given. So I sent like postcards or like a personal message like by mail at the end of the year as we were celebrating our anniversary to everyone who's purchased. And I was like, ooh, that's an old school tactic that actually worked really well. That I thought it was just more of an awareness tool, but it ended up being a little bit more. So I'm just throwing that out. Like, don't forget about the old school things. They actually work to build a super personal relationship if you have those email addresses. And the other thing that's really rising that we have to like be on top of is text messages. So being able to use texting as a form of engaging our customers is like, it's really critical right now.
Thank you, Yolanda. And we're about 10 minutes in. I want to make sure, Mia, if you had something that you wanted to share as just to kind of recap the conversation, go ahead and share that before we run out of time.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I want to respect everyone's time. I think that Josie did a fantastic job of letting us all know that all of these strategies that come into play as it relates to our businesses should be separate. They may overlap in some cases, but you should have a sales strategy. You should have a marketing strategy. You should have multiple touch points for your clients, as Yolanda had brought up, whether it be direct mail, text messages, personalized messages on social media, your targeted ad campaigns, and many of the different types of touch points. It's going to take more than just one, whether it be for a small client or a large client. It's all about relationship building, consistent engagement, and understanding who your audience is and what they specifically want.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Mia.
You're welcome.
Do we have any other comments or questions from the audience at all? Anyone?
Hi, Antoinette, I have a question. This is Tracy.
Hey, Tracy, how you doing?
Pretty good. It's either for Josie or for Mia. I know that we talked about the different sales strategy. Are there anything that we haven't talked about that's new in 2021? I know that things are always changing. Yolanda mentioned some of the old school with direct ads. We got people who are on Clubhouse. Can you just chime in if you think there is anything new that is on the horizon for sales and marketing?
I think it depends on the nature of your business. What type of business are you in, Tracy?
We're B2B, commercial janitorial.
Okay. And from a marketing perspective, I would definitely leverage some direct mail, as Yolanda brought up. I've been doing it this year for a lot of clients, and it's something that has been working, because social media is so oversaturated right now.
Mhm.
If you have a very specific and clear, crystal clear idea of who your target audience is, and you do not have a sales team, bringing in at least some temporary staff to make outreach calls. Cold calling is not dead. You're going to hear a lot of times, oh, cold calling's dead. It's not. It does work if the script is right. So doing research around what scripts should go or come into play, the content within those scripts, adjusting the scripts as necessary, having multiple phone calls being made by that personnel, and ultimately entering that data in the CRM. Because even as Yolanda mentioned, the more information you have on how these people respond, the more you're able to respond with what they need. So keeping that data on your CRM, taking good notes and following up consistently, I would say is vital. As far as new tools, I've seen Clubhouse, I joined it. I don't know necessarily if that's the best platform for B2B unless you formed a group around your particular area of business and other people were starting to engage in that group. I think for yourself individually, Tracy, and positioning yourself as a subject matter expert in that space around how to run that business, that's another way to expand your brand. So somewhere there's another person who wants to be like Tracy, right? What did Tracy do to become who Tracy is? Sharing that type of insight and perspective will also bring attention to your business. So I always tell people that Mia Martin's the consultant and Modern Creative is the store. So I'm going to sell consulting services, right, through me. That's what I do. And they're going to buy the deliverables through my agency. And that's what gets done. So there's never a point in time now with the company where anyone can come in and just buy a deliverable. They have to buy consulting services and the deliverable. So I'd say consulting, for those of you who own businesses and you aren't doing it, is kind of the new thing. Because if you haven't noticed, there's a ton of how to do everything going online right now. Everyone on social media is talking about how to run a business, how to scale a small business. Here's what you do with a business. Here's how I grew my business. 10 steps to being a successful entrepreneur. There is completely inundated with this type of content. But what makes it unique is when that content is specific towards a certain audience. So for me, I target executives that are transitioning from the executive space into consulting. It's not to say I won't take a referral client, but that's my ideal client from a consulting perspective. My agency, anybody can buy a website, but I'm going to consult them through the strategic side of how to approach the content within that website. So I start thinking about, Tracy, ways that you can position yourself as an expert to bring more attention to your business.
Anybody else have a question? Because I have one about direct mail. Now, if you're thinking about expanding with direct mail, is there a starting point? Like,
Yes. So here's the thing. You can make your own postcard or letter in Canva and mail it out with a stamp or buy a box of pre-stamped envelopes. Here's the problem with that. It can work. And I would say it will work for your existing audience. But if you use a company that does this professionally, they can attach tracking phone numbers and different codes to that direct mail to let you know how it's performing, so that you know by zip code and by mail route, based on this particular mailing that was sent out these particular dates, this part of the mail route works better than the other part of the mail route. So maybe you're not wasting money the next quarter on mail routes that aren't generating sales. So even though the traditional just put it in the mail can work, I would say if you have a client with a budget that can work with 1,500 and up for direct mail services every 2 weeks, that's going to give you the type of data and statistics you need around routing and budgeting your direct mail accordingly.
okay, great. Okay, ladies, we have less than 5 minutes. I want to make sure that if you guys had any other questions or comments for Josie or Mia, that you would do so now. Anyone else?
Can we contact them outside of this once we do have questions that we don't have at the moment?
Yes, and before we end, I want to maybe give you guys like a minute to just tell us a little bit about your businesses, Josie and Mia. So everybody on the call knows who you are. And you can also type your email address in the chat box. So Josie, let's start with you.
I'd be happy to. So I have a advisory and consulting firm called Sales Enablement Benchmark. What we do is sorry, I've gone blank. We not only do we give advisory work to sales organizations of one to many in how to structure the organization, but we can also go in and measure what's working and not working within the organization, and then give advice around how to do it better. So when we're talking about things like a strategy, or we're talking about roles and responsibilities, if those things are not defined within your business today, that's a very common thing for us to be asked to do, especially with smaller companies that are just starting off. When you're a larger company and you have an established sales organization, oftentimes you have people in the organization not performing. That's when we would come in and actually help you understand why they're not performing, and then put in the plans to help fix those performance gaps within the organization.
Okay, thank you, Josie.
Thank you.
And Mia, what you do is your company.
All right. So I am Modern Creative. It's a digital marketing agency. So we do everything digital and a little bit of offline too. So radio, TV, billboard, magazine, social media, email marketing, newsletters, websites, all that good stuff. As a consultant myself, I really try to focus on tenured professionals that are looking to scale their personal brand from a consulting perspective. So for those that are really looking to build a business around themselves as a brand and go after hiring clients, I help them build high caliber brands.
Great. And now we are at 12:58, and I want to take time to, Josie just put her email address in the chat box. Amir, you can put your email address in the chat box. I want to thank you all for sharing your wisdom, your expertise, and your knowledge. And I want to recommend that you guys go to weopwomen.com. That is the location, the designation where we post events, we post announcements, and we try to keep everybody connected. Also, weopwomen.com, you can set up a profile and connect on a peer-to-peer level. So this is a historic day. I thank you guys. Anyone have any last minute thoughts or wanted to say hello before we end? It's 12:59. Anyone? Okay. Okay, again, thank you. And I want to thank everybody for attending this call today. And we look forward to staying connected in 2021. And Josie, thank you. Mia, thank you. And we look forward to connecting with everyone in the new year. Thank you.
Thank you. Everyone have a good day.
Okay, have a good day.